Welcome back, everybody, to Weekly Briefing. Now it is time for your favorite part of the show, the Political Roundtable. On Tuesday, a suspect set multiple Teslas on fire at a Tesla collision center in Las Vegas. The person also fired 3 shots at cars and spray-painted "Resist" in red on the door of the facility. During a press conference, the assistant sheriff of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, Dory Corrin, said investigators believe this is an isolated incident. Take a listen.
We do believe that it is isolated at this time. We do not believe that there's any further threat to the general public. However, as a precaution, like we do on many of these types of incidents, we've increased our police presence, in particular at Tesla locations or any Tesla-related locations in the Valley.
Donna, is this as isolated as they seem to say?
Actually, it's not. It's been happening all over the country, and we should remember this. Okay, the demographic of a Tesla owner is usually affluent, it's usually upper class, making $100,000, owning their own home. Why is this important? Because now we're seeing the kind of destruction of property and the violence that's normally associated with inner cities. Look what happened. Now, all of a sudden, the people that are really getting hurt are regular people that own their own homes. These people are setting the Tesla trucks on fire. They're setting property on fires, and it's not happening in lower income communities for the first time. Democrats have actually declared war on the American people, and you know what? It's not just isolated to low income people. The other thing is, this is not hurting Elon Musk, because it's suspect if he even owns a home, because he's always sleeping on the floor of whatever company he's working for. This is really hurting union workers. These are teachers' unions, city, local, federal employees that have pensions and 401ks, because their stocks are the ones that are going down. And so you have a Democratic Party who hates the American people, and they're willing to call for violence in any community in order for them to get and regain power.
We've seen the governor of Minnesota say that he keeps the Tesla stock ticker on his phone so that he can cheer when it goes down. And so we're talking, this is a guy, of course, who was presiding over BLM protests and destruction in Minnesota, violent destruction. And now it seems like he's sort of abetting the destruction of public property with regard to Teslas. Is that what seems to be going on here?
Well, exactly right. And I think to Donna's point, Tim Walz is a great example. I mean, the state of Minnesota has heavily invested their pension funds in Tesla shares. And so that is hurting so many taxpayers at the state level. But I totally agree. I mean, this is an attempt to intimidate using violence and destruction of property. And, you know, these temper tantrums that we're seeing are reminiscent of what we saw with Antifa during President Trump's first term, the rioting that we saw during the pandemic. And, you know, it's sort of a circular firing squad. I mean, for the longest time, I thought only folks on the left were driving Teslas. You remember these EV mandates, right? Like we had to get rid of all gas-powered vehicles. Everybody had to be in an electric. So that was the cool thing on the left. Well, now it seems they're attacking their own. And of course, all of this is in response to what Elon Musk is doing to help President Trump make our government more efficient. And that is just an incredibly astounding issue that should be bipartisan. We all remember, or we should, back in 2011, President Obama signed an executive order to make the government more efficient, putting none other than Joe Biden in charge. But I think this is something that is really has no place in our country, and we've got to put an end to it. Thankfully, Teslas have cameras on each of them, so I think a lot of people will be brought to justice.
Iris, Elon Musk wrote on Twitter, "This level of violence is insane and deeply wrong. Tesla just makes electric cars and has done nothing to deserve these evil attacks." Are these evil attacks?
Well, we're seeing the administration certainly agreeing with Elon Musk and strongly condemning these attacks. We've heard both Attorney General Pam Bondi as well as President Trump saying that they're labeling these attacks as domestic terrorism. Of course, it's up to apparently more evidence to see if there is actually a pattern or organization or even funding links behind them that they can prove for them to escalate or further charges. But right now, we are seeing quite severe charges being filed against those individuals who have been caught. 10 years and 20 years for both. And there's hate crime as well as, of course, vandalism. And there's also potentially charges related to that domestic terrorism claim.
Well, it seems like we haven't heard the last of that. We shall see. We shall see. Meantime, after being stuck in space for more than 9 months, astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams finally returned to Earth in a SpaceX space capsule. The two became stuck at the International Space Station after the Boeing space capsule they used to get into space had mechanical issues. At a press conference following their return to Earth, the Deputy Associate Administrator for NASA's Space Operations Directorate, that's a heck of a title, by the way, his name is Joel Montalbano, thanked the astronauts for their resilience and fortitude. Take a listen.
I want to tell you, I want to thank the Crew 9 team and the ground teams for their dedication to excellence, their resilience, their flexibility during this expedition, everything they did to have a successful expedition, as you have all witnessed. SpaceX has been an incredible partner for us, and it shows the benefits of the commercial public-private partnership that we have. So they just been a huge, great partner throughout all this.
So Elon Musk said that SpaceX could have brought them down sooner. He called it a political motivation for keeping them up there. Do you think this was the case?
Well, one thing to remember is that they were only supposed to be up there for 8 days and return home in mid-June of 2024. And if you remember, Elon Musk officially endorsed President Trump for the White House in July. And so the timing of that, if you could sort of think back, when would Elon Musk be making that offer to the Biden administration to go get these astronauts? I think we can draw your own conclusions there. But what a special moment to see this SpaceX capsule called Dragon Freedom splash down in the Gulf of America as a pod of dolphins gathered around. I mean, what a cool moment. And, going back to what we were talking about with this targeting of Teslas, I mean, Elon Musk, as the founder of SpaceX, this is someone who we should be looking to as really a hero, as a leader in the private sector for innovation. So, hats off to SpaceX working with NASA to bring these astronauts home.
Donna, what do you make of this space capsule landing?
You know what? This shows what a great mind Elon Musk is. What he's doing at a fraction of the cost of what our government charges us to be able to do the same type of space travel is astonishing. So we should be patting him on the back, because what he's doing is making our government more efficient. He's made straight space travel more efficient, and what he's trying to do is make our government run more efficiently as well.
Iris, is this an example of that adage, no good deed goes unpunished? Elon Musk, he brings the astronauts back, people are burning his dealerships. So, I mean, is that what's going on?
Well, people could potentially draw such a parallel, given Elon Musk a strong, apparently, voice now in politics and supporting President Trump's agenda. But objectively speaking, we have seen both NASA and those astronauts themselves coming out to say that this is not politically motivated. The reason why they were delayed and being brought back was, they say, both they wanted to be staffed there at the International Space Station, but also a budget issue. They didn't have that designated flight budget for them. It costs about $100 to $150 million for each Dragon flight. So that's the reason that they're given. But apparently we have heard Elon Musk saying, they could have been brought back a long time ago, but, it waited until now.
Well, we shall see. We shall see. When we come back, federal district judges continue to block President Trump from executing the policies that he campaigned on. Find out more when we return. Do not touch that dial. Well, welcome back to Weekly Briefing, everybody. Federal district judges continue to block President Trump from implementing key policies central to his election mandate. A federal judge put a temporary injunction on the administration's ability to deport Tren de Aragua gang members via the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. In another case, a judge blocked Elon Musk from dismantling USAID as part of his efforts to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse within the federal government. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller said, if a district court judge can interfere in a matter of foreign policy, then our democracy is under threat. Take a listen.
If a district court judge can be involved in the conduct of our foreign policy, under no definition do we have a democracy in this country. I mean, not to get too philosophical, but for a long time in this country, power has been concentrated principally in two areas: the unelected bureaucracy and the unelected judiciary. And power has been increasingly concentrated in these two areas.
Iris, is he right? Do we have a fundamental clash between the judicial and the executive power of the president?
Well, that's certainly what we are seeing right now in the recent wave of battles between the Trump administration and different courts and judges. We are seeing that the White House given its own defense to one, for example, when it comes to the deportation flight, they say the timing of the court's written order came after the flight has landed, after it went out. And also they're arguing that, as we just heard from Stephen Miller, they say that in this Article 2 right of the president to remove alien terrorists, as well as, of course, they're not supposed to be interfering with a foreign policy. So we are seeing the White House's defense, but we're also seeing apparently courts continuing to issue these injunctions and blocks to their different actions. The White House is vowing to appeal all blocks, so it could actually get to the Supreme Court if necessary.
Lee, referring to what Iris is saying, White House lawyers are examining the legal implications of verbal versus written orders in terms of this designation. And we have a soundbite from Caroline Levitt about that.
If they were there's actually questions about whether a verbal order carries the same weight as a legal order as a written order, and our lawyers are determined to ask and answer those questions in court.
Sounds kind of like hair splitting to me, but I mean, fundamentally, isn't there this question of, presidents have been deporting aliens, illegal aliens for since the beginning of the republic. So what's new here? Why is this? Why the different treatment?
Well, here's who I'd like to ask. I'd like to ask the founding fathers. And, next year in July is our 250th birthday as a country. And you could think back, how would our founding fathers react to this idea of liberal activist judges playing such a huge role, stopping the president from sending dangerous criminals back home or to prison, or in the case of USAID, eliminating bureaucratic bloat in the executive branch. And so I think that they would be shocked to find out that these liberal judges who are representing a small jurisdiction, whether it's the District of Columbia or Maryland, have such outsized influence. And of course, we know that these were two Barack Obama appointees. We've known that these activist judges have been a problem for a long time. But think back to our founding. Could they have ever imagined this? I think for the American people, this is becoming something that is they're becoming much more aware of right now. And I think the timing is right as we approach that milestone birthday of the 250.
Donna, Lee raises an interesting point because, of course, the founding fathers, talking about the founding fathers, there was no court system like what we have now that existed at that time. So how is it that this court system, which was not contemplated in the Constitution, now seems to be imposing its will upon the executive branch?
They're trying to reduce him to a figurehead. You're talking about equal branches of the government. This is completely unequal because all of a sudden you have Congress and judges and a figurehead president because he can't enact his policies. That's outrageous, and the founding fathers never had that intention. And then the other thing, I'm going to say this: nobody that lives in a dangerous community in this country disagrees with what President Trump is trying to do. They 100% absolutely want these people out of their neighborhoods. Maybe what we should do is do the DeSantis model, where we take these dangerous criminals and bust them to the communities where these judges live and see how agreeable they are at the fact that we shouldn't be deporting these people. I mean, this is crazy. They've pushed these people into minority communities to be terrorized. I mean, they're raping people, they're murdering people, they're robbing people, they're holding people hostages, and then somehow these are the people that we should worry about protecting. Who's protecting the American people? Who's protecting them? And these judges seem not to care about the fact that they live with terror every day and trauma.
Very good point. Very good point. We shall see. Meanwhile, on a phone call with President Trump on Tuesday, Russian President Vladimir Putin agreed to an energy and infrastructure ceasefire with Ukraine. However, on Wednesday, Russia and Ukraine accused each other of targeting civilians and infrastructure. Despite the back and forth, White House Press Secretary Kellyanne Leavitt said that a ceasefire is the closest it has been to actually happening. Take a listen.
We are now focused on a long-term peace agreement. As you know, on that deal or that meeting between President Zelensky and President Trump, the Ukrainian president at the time wasn't talking about a greater peace deal. We are now at that place where we are talking about that. So we've moved beyond just the economic minerals deal framework, and we're looking at a lasting ceasefire. Right now, we're at a partial ceasefire. But again, the president is sending his highly skilled, intelligent, and experienced team to Saudi Arabia later this week to continue fighting for peace in this conflict. And I would just reiterate one more time, we have never been closer to peace than we are today.
Peace agreement, what are the chances of that, do you suppose?
Well, I would agree. I think we're getting closer. And President Trump is, famous for his negotiations. This is a really difficult one. I think in a negotiation like this, neither side is going to get exactly what they want. But, it was encouraging to see that President Trump is out there talking about, look, there are 2,000 lives being lost a day in this war. We want peace. And, the other thing that we saw was Vladimir Putin agreeing to release about 175 prisoners back to Ukraine, 23 wounded. And so I think I would agree that it is encouraging to see that we are making progress here, but there is a difficult road ahead.
Donna, what do you think? This president seems awfully optimistic about a peace agreement here. Is he right?
Absolutely. I mean, he has the art of the deal. This is a guy who makes deals and is respected by those characters like Putin and Ukraine that know that when he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. I mean, he's not a Joe Biden that's sitting there going, well, you can attack so much and you can take so much. No, he'll show you his phone and say, this is what's going to happen to you if you don't fall in line and come to the table.
Iris, is there a danger here that Mr. Trump gives away the store with regard to Ukraine?
Well, we're certainly seeing President Trump trying to negotiate with both sides. He talked about it over the weekend, saying that he's talking about land, power plants, and dividing up assets with both Ukraine and Russia. We've seen him proposing for the U.S. to own some Ukrainian power plants, including nuclear power plants, to kind of give them some form of protection over their infrastructure and energy. So I think the question right now is if Russia will continue to implement that ceasefire despite the recent strikes we've just seen, and whether Ukraine is going to be accepting the terms that President Trump is raising to them.
Very interesting. We shall see. We shall see all the twists and turns. Panelists, we have about a minute left. It is time for our crystal ball question. The Border Patrol and White House recently posted a video on Instagram of the deportation of gang members using the song Closing Time. Here is a little snippet of the video for your viewing pleasure. Somebody at DHS has a very good sense of humor. That's all I have to say. Panelists, gaze into your crystal ball and tell me what will be the next song the Border Patrol will use in their videos. Donna.
That's so fun. We built this city. We own it.
Lee, what do you think?
If you're not following Border Patrol on social media, you've got to, because they're crossing all genres with their music selections. But I'm going country. I'm going Folsom Prison Blues by Johnny Cash.
Iris, what
I'll
do you think?
pick Rocket Man, just given the recent
Rocket
SpaceX
Man.
vibe, and also they might want to send a message as they're sending people off far and quickly.
Far and quickly. My own choice is probably, like yours, a space theme. Fly Me to the Moon, Frank Sinatra. Perhaps. Who knows? Well, that is all the time we have, panelists. Thank you for joining. When we return, the Vice President of the Media Research Center's Free Speech America and External Affairs, Dan Schneider, on the MRC's campaign to defund NPR and PBS. Find out more when we return. Do not touch that dial.